Happy Friday, everyone. So welcome back. This is the first episode ever of our new Get Unstuck series. Our goal with this episode, with this new series, is really to try to provide an open office hours model where we work with one or two entrepreneurs over the course of an hour to really try to see how to get them unstuck. Look, if you're an entrepreneur today, probably feels like most of the world is against you, but every day we're trying to figure out how to get past some hurdle that's in our way. Right? And those hurdles come in all different shapes and sizes. It could be anything from, how to fund our business, to how to make sure our customers can find us, to how to deliver a great experience for our customers. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. We're here to actively brainstorm with you, with our entrepreneurs that are visiting with us, and as well as get the feedback from everyone in the audience. Before we jump in, though. Okay, that's life at home. Before we jump in, though, I'm going to have everyone do a quick introduction. I'm going to start with my partner, Marcela, though. Why don't you lead us off?
Sure. Thanks for putting this together, Gregarious. I think it's a great opportunity for us to do what so many of us have been doing to help entrepreneurs through this. Micki and many of us have met through different groups that are teaming together to make sure that our businesses continue to build through this pandemic. My background started in product development in financial services. I was with Thomson Reuters for over 10 years. And then I moved into marketing technology, where I've been a C-level executive, an angel investor, and advisor for over the last 12 years. So Gregarious and I have co-invested, advised, and I've been an investor in his company, and that's how we know each other.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcela. All right. Micki, can we have you go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Micki Boas. I'm a brand strategist, and I've worked for many years with ad agencies, Saatchi & Saatchi, Y&R, VaynerMedia, and most recently I have advised mission-driven startups in branding and marketing to make sure that the good brands out there have good branding, and I think that's how we help the world. So I'm excited to advise the entrepreneurs on the call today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kaywanda, we'll have you do a quick intro.
Hey everybody, I'm Kaywanda Lamb, founder of Spanish for Small Business, where we help you connect with your customer and increase your bottom line. I am a single mom. Most people know me as the winning single mom, but I've also been a Spanish language educator for the last 14 years. And so I decided to turn that passion into a business. And because I've been an online entrepreneur, it was so easy to see that there was something missing in the market. And so I said, wow, we have all these great brands and businesses in English. What if we took this and shared it with the world? And so I've been doing that for about 5 years. And I just recently built a website because everything was on a referral basis. So I'm here today to get your expert advice on how to reach the masses and find the right entrepreneurs and business owners to work with.
Well, I'm sure you will get some expert advice from the others. I'll just tell you what I think. And lastly, let's get Lauren up. And Lauren's actually going to be our first one in the hot seat, so we'll have her start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Tanaka. I recently opened a modern-day shoe repair store located in downtown LA. And my husband does all the repairs, and I do all the marketing. So we're obviously closed right now, so that's a problem in it of itself. But in addition, I'm just curious about different marketing strategies we can use, whether it's content marketing or just to how to message our brand, because we are a different type of business. We're more of a high-end shoe repair shop, very design driven. So there's not really anyone I can kind of emulate, or I can see like other marketing examples of how they're doing it really. But yeah, so I'm very excited to hear what all you experts have to say.
Great. Lauren, before we jump in, Greg, can you scroll down, or I'm not sure who's driving the...
Lauren has to scroll, yeah.
Can you scroll down and show the custom shoes? Because that's what really, when I looked at your service, and I immediately saw the impact that COVID would have had on you with closing your shop. But when I looked at the custom services that you provide, I think it's really important to give people perspective on those. So Tell us a little bit about the two types of specialty services that you provide, because I think they're phenomenal, and where you're going to have an opportunity to continue to grow your brand and business while we get through this.
Yeah, so we do, sorry, my website looks all weird. So the three services we offer are repair. So this is just kind of like a custom, regular, not custom, regular general shoe repair and bag repair. So that's, everything from cleaning the shoes to resoling to dyeing, stretching, just, typical shoe repair services. And then we do custom, which is like a custom resole, which no one really is doing. So we use Vibram soles, which are these kind of like well-known sneaker and boot soles. They're very well-known in the footwear industry. And my husband does this like a welt, which is more of like a work boot type of welt on a sneaker. And so that's kind of what we're known for, and where we kind of had the idea of actually opening the shop. And then we also do design, which they're 100% handmade from scratch. So my husband actually creates the pattern and designs the shoe, and we do model them after sneakers. So like this style right here is based on like an Adidas
You're not
shape.
seeing your screen, Lauren. Can you go back? There you go.
She's not scrolling.
Oh, so sorry. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So let's see. So I can take you through the different styles. So honestly, the website is still a work in progress. I still don't even have all of our shoes.
That's great. Now we can see them. That's great.
So, as you can see, it's just very kind of unique repairs. So like this, for example, is like, we call it like a sole swap. So it's like a Converse Chuck Taylor sole on a Vans.
It's awesome.
Good.
I
Great.
actually collect sneakers, so I'm.
Oh, cool.
There you go. See, the show already worked. You've got your first conversion. So great. So let's get started. I think the first thing I always look at when I'm thinking about moving a brand forward, whether it's in the early stages where you're launching and thinking through your strategy, or later on when you're further along and you're now looking at scaling, is where you are in your planning. So Lauren, where are you, or where have you done as far as planning or thinking, so that we have some sense of where to get started? Again, just as background about the show, we have not spoken to the entrepreneurs, and Kaywanda and I know each other, and we have spoken, and we'll talk about that when she's on. But really, this is meant to be a live brainstorm. So no prep. We're jumping in and taking it as if we walked into your office and gave you this advice. So Lauren, can you give us some sense of what kind of content preparation you've done to date?
I mean, other than just like the content that we produce on Instagram and YouTube, it's literally just like, oh, let's make a video of this style, so it's like we don't really plan anything. And also it's a little difficult because my husband he's in the actual shop all day, so unless we get a sneaker in that is kind of cool, we don't really create content, you know what I mean? So he's working on repairs and doing stuff that behind the scenes, but the content that we produce is all based on like what we get in, or if we have time to actually create new sneakers and new custom orders. Do you know what I mean? So it's really difficult to plan because he's kind of like the main person. But so that's why I'm a little bit stuck is because I'm trying to create content that isn't necessarily product driven, but isn't like cheesy, because we are a high-end brand. And so I'm just curious what like high-end brands do for content. You know what I mean?
I have an idea. I wonder if you could, so instead of waiting for a shoe to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
You okay? Okay. That isn't time focused. So what I thought was missing from the site was, how are you telling your artisanal story? Like, I know nothing about your husband. What's his background? Where did he come from? Why do I trust him with my shoes? And I think that when you talk about a high-end luxurious brand, I would say almost 80% of it is in the story of who you are and why you're the right person for the job. So that just might be something to consider when your husband's out of the shop, how you guys could tell that story together.
Okay.
Yeah. If I could add on to that, actually, if you had to pick one business to be in, would it be the repair business or would it be the custom shoe business?
Honestly, it would be the custom shoe business, because we ultimately want to build our own brand, like a big brand, because we're gonna do our own collection that's made in a factory as well. So we want to eventually do wholesale and actually be more of a fashion brand as opposed to like this is a huge part of the brand, but we ultimately see big picture this being just like one arm of the brand.
I hear you. And I guess for me, when I see sort of just even the opening header on your site, I don't know, like high-end shoe repair doesn't seem differentiated to me. Like I feel like I wouldn't understand. My wife has a cobbler. I'm sure every one of them says they do high-end shoe repair, right? Like what you do, right? Which I think I love the sneaker products, and I feel like they should be featured much higher up in this. Like this is a doorway that I have no idea what I'm seeing here, right? Like I kind of want to get smacked in the face with your like really interesting, amazing inventions, right? Like and seeing sort of the things that you are creating, right? And then that is, I think, inherently engenders trust that if you could make crazy shit like this, you can definitely take care of my shoes, right? And then I love, like what Micki said, but bringing the story in about having passion for the product that you love, and like, you know, and also being able to let you take an ordinary thing and make it your own thing is also another powerful dynamic, right? I think like when you were saying about the sort of like when you look at your Instagram content or whatever, I think you're doing it backwards. I think you should be actually saying, you ever seen any of those car repair shows or any of those other things? They're not waiting for someone to come in. They're like, we're going to turn this jalopy into something cool, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to break it down, and tune in next week and watch like the first 5 minutes about how do I take the original sole off, and plan out, like, you need to take one of your creations and intentionally create something for creating content. Like your content marketing is that behind the scenes stuff, right? We
do that. We have a YouTube channel that we create like behind the scenes of like literally step by step of what goes on. And we do some of the styles that you see, we do just create for content, for creation. They're not necessarily for customers. So, and we do like stories and stuff like that. So my idea is that, you know, the feed or the grid is like our brand. It's like coming to our, you know, looking through a catalog. And then we do like behind the scene, like stories and like just stuff like that's a little bit more casual. Do you know what I mean?
No, I hear you. And I think like, you know, like, so I watch, Shoevinator has like its own channel, right? Like, and they like literally just do videos where like someone sends them a really shitty pair of shoes, and the guy sits there like at a table and shows you how he rejuvenates a pair of shoes. And by the way, the time frame that's actually going by maybe days and days, not like, you know, just in one sitting, right? Like in the show, like he goes downstairs and puts it in the washing machine and dries it off and all the other stuff, right? Yeah. So I think like if you feel like you don't have enough stuff, ask for stuff. Like let people send you things, right? Like, hey, we'll do it for free because we want the content, right? Like the content's going to be really important to you because the physical space obviously is great, but you could literally have people, because you're so good at it, sending you product to be repaired, right? And so you don't have to be dependent on like foot traffic per se. So like I would try to create like incentivized structures around that. Like, hey, we're always looking for a pair of really crappy shoes. Tag us in a photo of your busted up sneaks, and if we like it, we'll fix it up for free, right? And so now you got people sharing it out to their audience. You've got like potential sneakerheads like talking about you. You got people who are shoe aficionados talking about you, and I think you create an environment where people are like, there's a chance for me to get my shoe taken care of. I wouldn't know how to do it otherwise, or I think they're already a lost cause, right? And someone tagging you, sharing it to you, you taking that in for free, working it through your process, and then delivering it back out, right? That's a way to create a testimonial. It creates ongoing, like evergreen content. Like you could literally get a shoe a month from a fan or someone out there and always have the ability to produce content, right? Like without having to like wait for someone to walk in the door to do it now, right? Especially right now when you can't open the door, your only chance is for someone to send you a pair of shoes that are screwed up.
And I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what we do right now. So people actually send us their shoes because we've actually found that most of our, well, I mean, we don't have that many customers yet, but the majority of the custom shoes that we're getting, people are actually sending to us. So we've only had maybe a handful of people that come into the shop and actually get their shoes custom redone. It's people finding us through Instagram that they like just send us their shoes, and we've been just communicating with them on DMs and stuff. So, and then they just send their shoes to us. So,
Lauren,
yeah,
I think a lot of this too is what the guy already said. Like, approach your website is definitely not driving through or punching us in the face with this passion that you guys have. So that's the first and foremost. Like, you're not modern shoe repair, right? You are a lifestyle brand, and so the shoe repair is definitely secondary. But what I think you have to do, because when we asked you whether you're planning content, you have this magical content, you're doing things, you're just not pushing it to the forefront of your actual strategy or how you're communicating it. So one of the things that you need to consider, if you're not doing it already, especially as you're pitching or talking to people about your business, is letting people know who your tribe is, right? So on Instagram, you need people like Gregarious who are passionate and crazy about shoes. You should be engaging and looking for them on an ongoing basis. And again, setting a plan where on a daily basis, you have found 10 shoe or sneaker aficionados and connected with them in some way, putting those tactics in place and using tools that will drive that back to you just to make it easier is something that you should consider. And we can put up tips on what some of those tools are, right? That will help you look for content, that will help you spur ideas. But making sure that you've identified your tribe within social and then following through the breadcrumbs of who those people are to build it is a critical thing that you can do to make sure they're seeing your content, right? Making sure that that fun content that they're going to be most attracted to, like again, Greg just said, like, I love watching people make shoes, right? Making sure that that's, again, at the forefront of your website so that when they arrive here, they're seeing an experience and not trying to figure out what that's meant to be. I think those quick changes can really change the perception of your brand.
do you guys think, because we just actually changed the main photo, the original content that was showing was the actual video. So do you think we should switch back to the video as the main homepage? No?
Maybe. I think if it's as like Micki recommended, if it's like the craft being applied, you know, like some behind the scenes kind of footage of like, you know, reselling.
That's what it is.
Like,
Yeah, I think doing a resell. Yeah, do you lead with that?
Yeah, it may be worth a try. I don't think the photo is doing much for you.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what would work better, but I feel like I just, even the name doesn't say passion to me. Like I feel like you guys have a passion for something. It's just totally lost. It's like this very generic thing. It's like Acme, right? Like almost, right? Like where is the brand, right? Like where are you in this? Like, why would I remember this? I would never remember this, right? Like to type this in, I would never remember it.
Oh, you mean our actual name?
Even the name, but like, by the way, I'm looking at your Instagram. Instagram account's beautiful. It's got great photos, right? Like they're all shot well, right? It's consistent. Then I go to a website, it doesn't look anything like literally if your Instagram was your homepage, it would be 1,000 times better already than like I think where you are currently.
Okay.
So Lauren, I also want to address a comment, and feel free to ask questions. I'd say we've probably got another 5 or 6 minutes, and then I want to open it up, see if there's other comments. You know, when we emailed back and forth about joining the show, you said something like, you know, high-end fashion brands don't really use content to build their brands. And Gregarious, and I'm sure Micki has tons of experience on this, but Gregarious in particular, because he focused his previous startup around this. I'd love your comment on what other content can help supplement. And Laura, maybe that's what you meant was, what other content can we use to supplement, or is there other things that I can be looking for to help drive my brand? Micki, Gregarious, do you want to comment on that? Like what other high-end brands are doing beyond their own proprietary content to supplement?
You can take it, Gregarious. I have another thought.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right, Lauren, to a certain degree that like luxury brands like to create vignettes, right? Like they like to create sort of a peek into like a lifestyle, right? So I think, but I don't think that they don't use like this kind of content, right? I think, but it is a lot more staged because like a lot of the luxury lifestyle is this aspirational point of view, right? It's sort of like where am I taking away to, like what am I being like portaled to, right, in the process. And so I think like, for example, if you want to bring that more to life, then it would be like more like getting people, influencers or other things like that, potentially to be like styling your products or to wearing them, like sending some of these great looking shoes out for people to like try on, give a real review. I think where luxury gets it wrong though, right, if it does get it wrong, right, is that people also, to your point, I think ultimately, they want products that are real that they can use too, right? Like, so like, most people aren't collectors, right? Like they're buying something and then they're going to use it to some degree. And the whole idea of looping the repair in, right? Like I think is really interesting because it's like, keeping your custom things, your luxury things, like in the same shape they always are meant to be, right? And so you want to see these things get out into the world and actually activated and used. And I think like the authenticity factor is something that is always worth trying to figure out how to weave into your story, right? So you're showing real product, but not real usage, right? And I think like the next level beyond this is like, how do you style this, right? Like, how do you take a desert boot that's got like a virus? So like, well, how do you wear it, right? Like, and that's where I try to bring it to life now, like off of the bench, right, and into like into the hands of real people. And that will give you another another interesting dimension to sort of the storytelling about the brand itself.
Yeah. I also think to Gregarious' point. Sorry, Lauren, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, that's a really good point because we actually thought about doing like we see some brands like shoe brands, they do just like the foot, like the sock and like the pant down and just, it's just like, this is how you would wear it. And it's not necessarily like, this is the outfit you would wear it with, because we think that's kind of cheesy. It's more like, this is just like someone wearing it and like a foot. I don't know. We're really influenced by like Japanese bloggers and Japanese style. And if you look at their high-end brands, it's very like, especially shoes, they just show like the foot down. They don't really show like outfits or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we don't really
the kind of person who wears this shoe, it's about the whole thing, right?
True, but the person that wears our shoe already knows their style. Like they know like how to rock it. You know what I mean? Like I don't think the person coming to us is the person that's like, they already have their own style. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're like, how do I wear this? They're like, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's just what our.
Well, all right. Let me give you a counter argument to that, right? You take a site like Essence, you take a thing like all of the fashion bloggers, all the fashion YouTubers, everyone out there, they look at the reason like ASOS does better than other people is the models and the styling. It's not because people can't understand the clothes by itself. It's still helpful to see it illustrated and brought to life, right? So it's not like they're selling the outfit per se, right? They're still selling the lifestyle, right? Like, yeah, you could be a wacky, crazy person like that wears this with like this. Oh, that is me. I could see me in those shoes too, right?
Did you say ASOS?
Yeah, like an ASOS, right? Like all their models are like tattooed up, right?
But honestly, so ASOS is like a fast fashion brand. So like, that's not really like.
That's not the point though, right? Like the point is not like where they fit in the scale. The way what I'm saying is how they portray it. Essence is all high-end designer stuff paired with different things, right? And it's still the way that they like when you see like actual like youth influencers talking about it, they bring up this thing to show how people style it, because they don't have all those things either, right? So like, if you want broader distribution, you need the kinds of people who would buy these shoes talking about it and recommending it, right? Like, so I don't think you want to like embrace too insular point of view that everyone already knows how it looks. Like, so that's why I don't need to worry about it, right? Like, I think you need to spread out and like get into more of that universe. Like, people who collect shoes also are into fashion. People who are into fashion are usually into shoes, right? Like, they go hand in hand. So like, I don't think you need to intentionally limit that just because like the only person who will buy this shoe like knows how to dress already. I don't think that's how it works, right? You're only going to win if you can expand the audience of people who might consider a custom shoe when they never thought about it before.
So also one last point before I switch over. I think in this moment with us all being inside of our houses, there's a moment to lean into the circular economy and how you're bringing these items that might have been sitting in your closet that you haven't paid attention to, and you're bringing them back out, and how that is like kind of helping the world in this moment. You mentioned like having influences from Japanese brands. I lived in Japan and speak Japanese, and I follow Fight Direct, right? The shoes, those like, they're so beautiful. But even what they're doing right now is like leaning on cultural moments like Cuomo, Fauci, Gates, and they tell the stories of what these people have and how they're related to their shoes as well. So I'm wondering how you can take this notion of the circular economy and bringing these friends in your closet back, giving them the attention that they need and deserve, and how you're kind of relating that to people who are helping us get through these situations, and how you're leveraging those qualities as well. Just
that's a really good idea. And yeah, I love Fight. That's like definitely a brand that we love and aspire to be. But yeah, that's really, I guess like that's what it is. It's like, it's building a brand altogether, because that's like such a big part of their brand. Obviously their name is Fight, and they like fight for, you know, so it's hard. So we're still trying to figure that all out, but definitely the sustainable part is something that we want to highlight, because we are a shoe repair shop, and a lot of people, you know, I think we're getting into the more of a buy better, you know, buy less, buy better society, hopefully. So we want to kind of incorporate that into our message as well.
So Lauren, I want to highlight some of the takeaways that I'm hearing from these amazing fashionistas and brand builders that we got on the show for you. I think one, really think about your tribe and how to grow the audience so that you're contacting them, and whether you agree with, you know, Gregarious's kind of broader approach to building your audience and the concepts, or some of the finer points of what Micki's saying. Ultimately, the homework you have to take away is the plan, right? That you can plan for content, you can plan for smaller releases through stories, by connecting with your audience on a daily basis in different ways. And again, there's tools we can sit down separately and go through the different tools that are out there for that. But putting together a plan of the types of people, the types of audiences you're trying to reach, whether or not you're connecting with them on an ongoing basis, and broadening it for now. And then more importantly, making sure that on your website, the power that you're showing on Instagram is translated on that landing page is really critical, so that what you're aspiring to be is coming through, and not necessarily what you were 6 weeks ago pre-COVID when you opened up your shop, right? So right now is a great time to look at who you're aspiring to be and build yourself into that space, so that when the purse strings of the buyers and your target audience starts to open up, you're already front of mind, and you've already given them that moment of joy, if you will, watching you craft those shoes, spending time teaching them about the collectors or the different brands, even examples of the Japanese brands. I don't know that at all, but even bringing people some of that knowledge could be a lot of fun right now, because again, it shows your culture and why you're passionate about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Any other final thoughts for on this particular topic, guys? Good. Do you have any questions,
No,
Lauren,
I'm
or any
good.
other ideas that you wanted to touch on before we jump into Kaywanda's?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, and if you have any follow-up questions, just ping us, of course. We're happy to follow up on any of this stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, Miss Kaywanda.
Hey, y'all.
So Kaywanda and I do know each other. We have been working together thanks to the efforts of a new platform, and this is a big public plug that I'm really proud to do for Eureka, ureeka.biz. They are helping entrepreneurs on an ongoing basis by providing coaching and also support with COVID, and they're creating partnerships with great companies. So that's how we met. And Kaywanda's been trying to transform her business, as she's already stated. So Kaywanda, with that, why don't we jump in to some of the challenges that you've seen and where you're at?
Okay, so long story short, like I said earlier, I worked as an educator for 13 years in public schools here in Texas, and I would tutor people on the side. I would teach them Spanish in my spare time, as well as the mom brand that I have. And so for years, entrepreneurs and small business owners would be like, can't you teach me Spanish? And I was like, you don't want to learn. Well, I started doing that about 5 years ago, and I realized that the way that I teach adults and what my adult entrepreneurs needed wasn't what I was teaching my high school students. And so I created a system that allows me to tailor Spanish specifically to their business, to their needs. I teach them their whole entire process, and we learn Spanish in 6 to 12 weeks. And so, the challenge has been that I left the classroom last year, and I was accustomed to full-time paycheck and, just having clients come. And right when COVID happened, I was getting ready to do a big launch, fill this big course. People were excited, and then crickets, because everybody's in a state of flux. So I'm here, working with Marcela, who's, been so amazing as my coach these past few weeks. And I'm learning that, well, now I have to actually do content marketing, because before everything was word of mouth and referrals. And so I'm here today just kind of I'll show you my site, which is literally not the final vision, but it is, what's necessary, right? So people can come to me and find me. And so, the challenge that I had was, since I work with entrepreneurs and small business owners, I'd also like to one day get into corporate, right? And to, be able to work with teams. And so how do you make that transition? What's that messaging supposed to be? And yes, I've created a content calendar and have yet to release it. I have a lot of content. I've yet to release it. And so just listening to you all talk to Lauren, I'm like, okay, I need to do that. I need to do this. So if that made any sense to you, I teach entrepreneurs, small business owners Spanish, conversational Spanish that they can use. We don't get grades, and we absolutely learn. And then they go and they speak Spanish with their customers, and it just builds this cycle of confidence and rapport. And, customers know, hey, I can come here and they can help me. And plus, obviously, the non-native speaker is excited to be able to communicate in a new way and also garner new market share. So I know this is a big deal. This is a big thing. We've been talking about scaling it with the course that I'm launching on the end of this month. And so lots of things in the works. And yeah. Content marketing ideas, I guess I would say, B2B.
I'm going to jump in and say that, similar to Lauren, planning is really important. And I think when you're stuck in, Lauren's situation where you closed your store, you had to get out of the classroom and figure things out. And now you have to look forward in a time where there's just so much noise and so much just people focused around COVID, but making sure that you have a plan of communication that you can test and tweak is really important. And you both have content, and you both have this amazing culture and knowledge base that others will appreciate. You just have to make sure that you're doing it consistently so that you can see what is resonating with your audience, and then doing more of that and less of that isn't. So I think that's something that's applicable across the board to anyone trying to market. So this is your website, right? And
It doesn't have a lot of meat on it. And I wanted it to look like people who would come to my website. I wanted people to see themselves. And my mom brand, you see me on the site the whole way. And I wanted something that, you know, spoke to my customer. And so I'm playing around with colors and images and things. But the business Spanish page, you know, really talks about the course that's coming up, and it really speaks to, if you want to click on that tab, and it really speaks to, yeah, the professional, right? So I say entrepreneur and small business owner because I feel like there was a need for that demographic to realize, hey, you guys need to be Spanish speaking as well. There are opportunities that you're missing out on, and they know it, and that's why they come to me. I've worked with social workers. I've worked with, you know, people who own yoga businesses, man, you know, so many industries. And, you know, now to be able to say, I want to speak to a wider audience, I think that's where Marcela and I were like, she was like, okay, but specifically who? I was like, well, I've worked with so many that I think it's simply just, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner and you can see the need for Spanish, we can work together. We can tailor a program to you for what you need.
Yeah. So I'll start with the advice that I gave. I already gave you that. I know you're working on, but I think it's important to say out loud, right? Like in this time, particularly right now, we cannot be generic in our communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So saying you need to speak Spanish or learn Spanish is different than recognizing that because of COVID, there will be a higher number of Latinos in the marketplace looking for work, that there's an opportunity to connect with the community in a different way if you speak their language. So I'll ask Micki and Gregarious to give you, we can, why don't we jump off the site so that we can talk? But I'll have Gregarious and Micki talk a bit about their thoughts around content. And I think messaging is really important for you right now because you are trying to, similar to Lauren, get people to make a buy decision today for, which is an investment, right? So Micki?
Yeah. Okay. Buenos dias.
Hola, hola.
So my advice would be this. So when I look through your site and when I hear you talking, I feel like we're in a moment, like Marcela said, about like leveling up our skills, and what a better way to do it than through a language. But what I really want to see is what are the results. So as an entrepreneur, if I speak Spanish, what does that mean? I have access to the Latino market, which is a huge market, which is going to grow my business size by this, right? I want to see that it opens up new marketplaces that I wouldn't have had access to. I want to see case studies of how you've done it with someone else before and what were their results that they're getting. To me, that's what's really going to differentiate you from the other types of ways that you can learn language in the current moment that we're in.
Okay. Thank
Micki,
you.
I couldn't agree more because actually I asked Kaywanda to go get testimonials. She has clients that love the work she's done. She has testimonials and has had conversations about how their businesses have grown, and that's what you want to see front and center. Gregarious?
Sorry, one other point. I also wanted to see about approaches. Like when you talk about Spanish for small business, like am I learning measurements and liquids because you're a business that makes drinks, for example, or like what is it specifically about small business that are you customizing for me? And then so I want to know your approach too.
So I talk to them. I do like an intake process, and they tell me what they need, and literally every class we build. So I give them a foundation, right? So I have this 30-page workbook that everybody gets that I created that teaches them the basics of Spanish, structure, pronunciation, everything they need. And then we build now, what do you need Spanish for? So if you needed to know measurements, I'm teaching you measurements. Does that make sense? It's literally customized for each person, for each business. So, and I only know that based on what they tell me that they need. And then I keep asking and we keep building, and I keep asking and we keep building. And that's what we do. I call it the adaptive instruction model.
I think in the times of us wanting very like measurable results for the money that we're putting in, I just think even though it's customizable, to have some kind of generic plan, like basic understanding, customized business for your needs, and wrap up and memorization, or whatever that looks like.
All that's there. Sorry, it's on the sales page. I apologize. Yeah.
Right.
So absolutely all of what you would normally get in the Spanish class, and then we add on what you actually will be using it for. Because let's just be clear, you don't need door and colors and, you know, the different types of animals and all the things we take you through if you, like you said, you make beverages. So how about we focus on foundations, and then let's talk about what you need to operate in, how you communicate with your coworkers, how your vendors and clients talk to you. I need you to be able to understand them and then be able to understand you. So that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say like the notion that it's generically applies to anyone is probably a bad place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always better to start really, really specific. So I see this problem very persistently with entrepreneurs is our market's like anyone who's an entrepreneur. No, it's not, right? Like I could ask you 5 questions and prove to you that it's not for every entrepreneur, right? So the fact that I can do that and the fact that you know that means that you're not marketing to the right people, right? So the more specific you can get, the more targeted you could be with advertising, with content marketing, with any of the things that you want, right? So as Marcela said, like if you're in a restaurant business, targeting, well, now's a terrible time for this, obviously, right? But like targeting like restaurant owners, right? Like who can learn Spanish so that they can then build a team, right? Like of multilingual folks is a wonderful place to be. Target entrepreneurs, that's not necessarily how most people like don't identify with that alignment, right? Or being a small business or whatever it may be. So I think like I would be looking for like very specifically where the pain is acute. Like learning Spanish in 6 weeks means that like basically someone's boot is on my throat for why I don't know Spanish, right? So who finds themselves in that situation where they need to ramp up this fast? And then I would create probably a bunch of landing pages and drive like some ad traffic and other things like that to drive those kinds of people to that place specifically, right? Give them very, very specific messaging. I don't want to hear it's adaptive. I want to hear you did this shit 100 times. Everyone who comes out is successful. I don't want to feel like you're figuring out every time you get a customer. I want to see 20 quotes of people I've already recognized probably in the space who've worked with you and already succeeded with it, right? Or who I can recognize myself in, right? Like solving the same kinds of needs or problems, right? And then tie it to results, right? Like learning Spanish helped me hire 15 new people, right? Learning Spanish increased or shortened our delivery time to table, right? Like these are the kinds of outcomes that you actually want to be talking about, not like how long it takes to learn Spanish. Like the part about learning Spanish is great when I'm in high school. The part about learning Spanish because my business needs it is great because it delivers on some kind of business value prop that I'm specifically trying to solve for, right? I think that's what I would say. My gut reaction is find more specific markets, not less specific ones, right? Like, you know, like companies expanding into, you know, South America, guess what? Everyone there has probably got a whole shit ton of people in their organization that probably need to ramp up quickly on Spanish, right? That's who I would be looking at, right? Like, because like those are organizations, that's where you can pick up 30, 40, 50 customers in one shot, right? Like, and you can run a course and you make a lot more money. But if you're selling to like literally small business person, you know, and it's like, great, for $100 a week, for $600, okay, great. Or you can make 20 times that in one room, right? So those are sort of like directionally where I would sort of probably be focused, right? Is in that universe.
I love it. You're repeating what Marcela already told me.
Not only that, but you know, going back to content marketing, which is where I think now matters most. The now is healthcare workers. The now is that kind of conversation. And if you're doing, or if you can do something in that space, that's what's going to make the difference to the people around us now. And so when you go live on LinkedIn, when you go live on Facebook, and you give your 5 minutes examples of keywords that you should know as a patient, right? You're going to feel better knowing that there might be someone on that receiving end who understands certain things. So showing an example of how well versed you are in these different segments, and then targeting them as we've talked about with landing pages, as Gary said, and then clarity. And I think Micki is looking at your website, and one of the things that is really, really tough is to keep the messaging concise on a website, right? Without having to scroll too much, but just punching people in the face with those key things. And I love what Micki said, right? Like, you know, the communication when you're talking to someone, what drives them to purchase, but making that process clearer is really important. And focusing on what's going to be important to business owners today is where I would continue to move and drive your marketing. Because entrepreneurs that are generally interested in learning Spanish are not going to make that a priority today. But the businesses that are expanding or looking to get, as Greg just said, more people into a certain market segment, or to point out Micki's suggestion around making sure that they're educated on how important the Latino opportunity is, those are all great pointers.
Okay.
And so sales pointers.
I'm hearing corporate, I'm hearing restaurants, and I'm hearing healthcare.
Well, restaurants, I think, was a great example. And Gregarious said right now it's a bit tough because, but when they start hiring again, when restaurant owners are in a position of growth again, it's certainly to their benefit, right? And I think the exact target market for this quick get unstuck conversation is less important as making sure that what's on the receiving end, your landing page, or what's on the outbound, the communication is targeted because you want to show the expertise. Again, going back to Lauren, you want to show the culture of passion for custom shoemaking. You want to show the culture of customization that you have in your class. You want to make sure that they know that you've done this, as Greg said, a million times, and you know what you're doing.
Yes. Okay. I like that. Very good. So we have a testimonial video. Obviously, I need to post those things, and I need to also probably showcase me teaching all these various clients I've had in different industries and showcase their results. I can put that together.
There's a book, by the way, that I love called Expert Secrets. It's by...
Is that the ClickFunnels guy?
Yeah, it's the ClickFunnels guy. And the book is really great because it basically it's designed for someone like you who has like, what the hell? Who's got a bunch of expertise and is trying to basically market the advantage of that, right? And so I think and the book is great, I think, specifically because it's basically like a playbook. It's like step by step, do these things. This is how you create the opportunity, and this is how you drive to like the result that you need. And so I would highly recommend maybe getting a copy of that and going. I would say, by the way, get the paper version because you're going to want to write all over it and stuff. Don't get the Kindle.
Okay.
There's a lot of diagrams and stuff in there as well. But it's a great book. One of my favorites from last year, and it's very focused and driven relative to specific kinds of problems you're trying to solve.
Thank you.
And by the way, you may need to do some free webinars, some stuff like that, to get people out there. I think the biggest thing with a language, I'm a 45-year-old guy. I don't think I can learn a new language, right? And so probably the biggest hump that you have, right?
Yeah.
Is people feeling I don't think I can do it, right? And so coming in for a half-hour thing and walking out with hey, I know 5 Spanish words, and more importantly, I know 5 Spanish words that I can use in the kitchen, or I can use in my mechanic shop, or I can use on my farm, or I can use when I meet a new client, or working with my team, those things I think are really powerful. And if you can let someone walk away with a little bit of a sense of achievement and success, that's going to hook them in to actually want to participate.
And I also think building on Gregarious's point is what if you did a webinar, like Marcela said, for healthcare workers? And I find one of the most interesting, top of the funnel pieces of content is calling people out, using some Spanish words that are used in healthcare and asking people to take a quiz. And if they know 5 of the 10 words, then, you could they need to take your class, or they get $10 off of a class, or whatever it is. But I think showing a very clear audit of what you know and what you don't know is an interesting way to use your specific terms to the audiences that need it most in this moment.
Actually, it's funny, Micki, you should mention surveys, because Gregarious is actually in the middle of building a tool for surveying that's going to allow for different types of discounting based on answers. So that's a really great idea. And Gregarious, that's a fun use case that we can test with Kaywanda once the app is up and available.
Okay, absolutely. So Marcela knows that I'm actually partnering with another entrepreneur, and I'm teaching a healthcare class, and I'm also teaching a general Spanish class. And so this is confirmation, basically, just hearing you all say this. So I know what directions I can go into, and I appreciate your feedback today. This is awesome.
So I wanted to take the last few minutes to get some closing thoughts. Micki, we've been talking so much about branding, and I'd love to get your thoughts on what you've seen or what's called your attention in the marketplace. Which brands or what messaging is resonating with you that you said, wow, that's smart that brand is doing A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear from you on that, if there's anything that's kind of jumping up and down at you.
So as I mentioned, I'm really about purpose and mission-driven companies. And so I'm really celebrating the brands that are getting behind why they were started and using it to reinforce what they're about and why they're here for us today. Things that seem slightly forced and inauthentic are really not resonating with me today. So I probably am having a hard time pulling up the best examples, but I think we've talked about this, Marcela, before, although they're not a mission-driven company, but somebody like Red Bull, who is bold and believes in bold things, they should be giving Red Bulls to the truck drivers that are supporting our infrastructure today. They should be making bold media choices in Times Square or wherever the message can be around what's going on. And so to me, I think those who are winning are those who are kind of getting back in touch with why they started and what their purpose is and how their purpose is relevant to what we're going through today.
Yeah. Gregarious, is there anything that you've seen that's making sense just based on all the noise that's out there?
No.
Yeah, the only example I can think of, and I don't know how, what the backstory is around it, but I know that the guy from The Office is doing that Some Good News show. Have you guys seen that? Have any of you seen that? Lauren, have you seen that yet? What's his name?
John Krasinski.
Yes. So AT&T, either he called them or they got in touch, and because of the show, I know AT&T did a big push to give free service to the healthcare workers, and he announced it through the show. So I thought that was a fun way to jump on, a show that's going viral. He wasn't someone doing his show before all of this happened, and AT&T put their name to it without feeling too sponsory, right? I don't know, maybe his kids drew the AT&T logo in the background. So I thought that jumped out at me as a good opportunity. Lauren, have you seen anything that, as you've been watching, particularly on the luxury side? Because it's certainly a tough time for them, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's hard to think of examples, right? Kaywanda, have you seen anything that jumps up and down at you?
No, but I love that Micki was talking about brands that are showing their humanity right now, showing that they have their ear to the ground. And so that made me start thinking, who's doing that right now? That's pretty cool that AT&T is giving free healthcare.
Yeah, but I also think that it's with all the extra TV watching that's happening, and maybe we're all just binging Netflix and not watching regular television that much. I haven't seen anything else that jumps out at me.
There's also one I think there's kind of interesting about repurposing the workforce to meet the needs of what's going on. So I saw an ad agency who used their recruiters to recruit nurses for the next Apex, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So what really does an advertising recruiter have skills? They have basic recruiting skills that they're transforming to apply to recruiting essential workers. I thought that was kind of interesting. And we're seeing that in fashion too, like Zara making masks and these types of things. So I think there could be some innovation that comes out of that as well.
Good. Well, thank you. Go ahead, Kaywanda.
Oh, I was going to say, this isn't a brand necessarily. Well, he is. But Diddy has been really doing things for healthcare workers. So that's a way for him to stay relevant, but also give back. So he's been bringing other artists on and sharing on his Instagram and just kind of putting some goodness out into the world. And I've noticed that other singers have like kind of been doing lives the last, 3-4 weeks. And it's been a way to take our minds off of COVID and kind of just have a party in our house since we can't go anywhere. So I thought that was a way for them to be innovative. And it's got me to thinking, being on with you guys, like, how can I get out there and be different? Yeah. And serve and inform. Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now, if you can, right, if you have the extra time, finding a community that you can give back to is really, really important, not just as a company, but overall. That's why we wanted to do this, right? We know that we're spending a lot more time on video. We're certainly doing it around, like Lauren, Micki and I have known each other through different networks that we're members of as women founders. And if you can give back in any way, now's the time to do it, because once things get crazy and you're losing 2 hours commuting again, I think that things will go back to being hectic soon enough, right? Gregarious, you're in the community, the founder community in Colorado, right? Yeah, so Colorado. And Micki, where are you located?
I'm in Jersey City.
Okay. And Kaywanda's in Texas, and Lauren?
Mm-hmm. I'm in LA.
LA, that's right. So, I think it's interesting to see how different communities are handling the support, and most importantly, thinking about how businesses are going to land on the other side of this.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is the effect will be, 12, 18 months or longer before we really understand who's left standing after this.
Mm-hmm.
Gregarious, any closing thoughts?
No, I think like this is probably like both of the challenges you're facing. I think it's not per se the product itself. It's the market, right? Mm-hmm. And I think like we're all guilty of doing it. And we do it ourselves. Like I do it myself. I always remind people. I had a friend that said, and she's a product expert, and she sort of said she's like once you're the entrepreneur, you're no longer the user, right? Mm. So nobody gives a crap what you want to make, right? Like if that's what you want, if you want to make what you want to make, then that's a nice hobby, but no one's going to pay you for it because you're the only buyer for it, right? So like markets are the only thing that make businesses go, right? Like if there is no consumer out there, and more importantly, if there aren't enough consumers out there, right? Like then you're not going to really have longevity or sustainability for the business that you have in mind, right? And so like the caution would be, find the way, the passion, keep, bringing the passion that you have forward, but make sure there's a market there to receive it, right? Because like, if you want to do too proprietary of a thing or service and no one wants to buy it, like you're going to spend a lot of time and energy and money, like building up and preparing, and you're going to find out there's only 5 customers out there for you, right? So unless you can charge them each $1 million, like you're not going to have like the kind of success, that maybe you were hoping for, right? And so you just got to find where the line is in terms of scale, and value, right, is going to be ultimately over time. And I would say like everyone is always going to benefit from doing more work to think about who their go-to-market, who the markets that they're going after are, what those problems those people specifically have. Don't presume that you have those problems anymore because you're not the one, you're selling, you're not the one buying, right? And so the things that you would buy still don't count anymore, right? But now you're trying to make a thing that other people will buy. And so that fundamentally will change, like how you make things and even your thought processes. And I won't say that it means you have to compromise per se, but it may mean that the thing that you want to do most is not valuable as a business, right? It might be a great hobby, right? Maybe a great lifestyle, and it could be sustainable to like let you live off of it, but it may not guarantee you bigger returns than that, right? So, you know, there's no right or wrong answer, like I said. It's just more, where is the good fit for me, right? Like, and can I find a way to have the passion I have for this thing and go to work every day and make a living doing it, right? This is where you're going to find yourself.
Micki, parting words?
Good luck. You guys are on the right path. You made the right step of putting something up there. I'm a big believer in iteration. So good luck in your journeys, and let us know how we can help.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This was awesome.
My parting thoughts for both of you is definitely to put your plan to paper. You know, there's always a way to erase or delete if you're using a spreadsheet, whatever you're doing. But just put something to paper so that you're tracking results and look at what's working, look at what's not, and then just keep iterating. Thank God we've got the technology like a website whose header you can change. But definitely test with the audience, as Gregarious just said, the audience that you're after, right? Don't presume that everybody wants to see it. Really look at your target market and your go-to-market plan, and keep iterating around those fine-tuned points before you make changes. That's it.
Okay, that's good.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. It was actually like really, look, it's hard to get, sort of raw feedback from folks. I know takes some time. It'll feel a little worse later. We're here for you. If you need to reach us, Gregarious Foundercraft, Marcela Foundercraft. We look forward to seeing you next week at the next episode. If you're an entrepreneur out there watching and you'd like to be on the show, right, just send us an email. We'll be happy to chat with you and get you into the flow. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thanks, Micki. Thanks, ladies.
Bye.